Imagine 3 hours, 47 minutes in the morning over the Nevada desert. No flight plans, no call signs, no records that anyone is in the sky at all. And yet, at an altitude of 24,000 meters, a black silhouette cuts through the stratosphere. It is invisible to radar and photographs Soviet missile silos whose existence officially no one knows. 30 years later, some farmer will swear that he saw an unidentified flying object that night. The truth is that he did not see an alien. He caught a 2-second glimpse of a program that cost more than his entire town and carried a top-secret classification. This is the real story of Area 51, not green men. Power secrecy and the engineering prowess necessary to redraw the global balance of forces. 1. Before Area 51 became a meme, it was a mathematical problem. In the 1950s, the United States had a simple equation. Soviet nuclear weapons plus an almost total lack of intelligence equals an existential blind spot. The solution was not diplomacy. The solution was altitude. You take a dry lakebed in the middle of nowhere, hours away from Las Vegas, far from curious eyes and commercial airlines. You fence it off, give it a number rather than a name, and then deliberately erase it from maps and public discussions. You do not call it a base. You call it a test site. On paper, it is just another range. In reality, it is a black box. Resources, money, people, metal go in, and only one result has the right to come out. Superiority. 2. The first child of this black box was the U-2. From an engineer point of view, it is almost an absurdity. A spy plane resembling a glider capable of flying higher than any fighter with cameras that can read license plates from the edge of space. Every test flight out of Area 51 created an unintended side effect. Commercial jets in the mid-20th century flew at an altitude of 7,000 meters. The U-2 flew more than triple that. To a pilot on the ground, it looked wrong. Too high, too bright and reflecting light too fast. In their minds, there was no template of a known object for what they were seeing. Therefore, the brain chose the closest available story, an unidentified object. Something not of this world. The convenient irony was that the Air Force could play along with this ambiguity. Writing everything off as alien reports was safer than revealing a secret reconnaissance asset. The myth of flying saucers became a way to vent public curiosity without revealing the systems that truly mattered. 3. Area 51 is not about one secret plane. It is a conveyor belt. The U-2 led to the A-12. The A-12 led to the SR-71. Each step was a radical extension of what metal fuel and physics were allowed to do. There in that desert, engineers were literally designing aircraft living on the edge of material science. Skins that must withstand temperatures at which aluminum becomes soft as butter. Airframes that must survive at speeds where the air itself wants to tear you apart. These are test points, telemetry burnouts, and failures that never made it into public reports. And behind every technological leap stands what is never shown in documentaries. Negotiations inside secured halls where someone says that if we can keep this secret for 10 more years, these will be 10 years of our strategic overmatch. Aliens are a comfort. Because if the carriers of superior technologies are them, then the decisions are not made by you. Area 51 is frightening for the opposite reason. It proves that human systems are fully capable of creating technologies so advanced that for anyone outside the clearance bubble, they might seem like magic. Then stealth appears. For an ordinary person, the F-117 looks like a strange angular black triangle. For an engineer, it is a piece of applied mathematics. A craft that flies not because it is aerodynamically elegant, but because computers make it manageable. Where would you test such a thing? At 3 in the morning over a restricted desert where the only accidental witnesses might be truck drivers or rare pilots who suddenly see a form not belonging to any known library of silhouettes. And again, the pattern repeats. Strange angles in the sky, silent, fast-moving black forms. For the public, the legend takes root. Black triangles, unearthly maneuvers. For the people managing the range, this confusion is an advantage. If the cover story the public writes for you is that it must be aliens, you are in no hurry to convince them otherwise. You allow fiction to absorb the attention. Let people argue about Roswell while you fine-tune the radar cross-section. From the point of view of information control, alien culture is a way to scatter attention. Area 51 is primarily not a technology. It is an ecosystem. Think about logistics, dedicated unmarked planes carrying workers back and forth. Think about secrecy. Think about politics. Levels of secrecy layered upon each other so high that the budget lines themselves disappear into the other programs column. For a rational person, this is the true essence. The base itself is only a physical node. The real Area 51 is an operating system, a way to conduct development in the shadows, while the surface world receives carefully curated fragments. The real question is how many layers exist between what you think your country can do and what it is actually doing. If this question causes discomfort, it is much easier to joke about gray men. 6. Today, you can open a browser and see satellite images of Area 51. Runways, hangars, new buildings. This creates a sense of transparency, but it is a trap. You are allowed to see exactly what is safe for you to see. You do not see test plans, encrypted code, engineering orders, or contracts buried under layers of shell companies. You do not see what takes off at 2 in the morning when satellites are not overhead. From orbit, Area 51 looks like any other large secured object. In reality, it is a living demonstration that in the 21st century, one can give the public eyes and still tell them almost nothing of what truly matters. We think that visibility equals understanding. Area 51 is proof that these two things can be completely decoupled. 7. Aliens would be almost a relief. If non-human forces stood behind the most advanced technologies on the planet, It could be filed under higher civilization, and one could move on. It would be outside the chain of accountability in which you live. But Area 51 is not aliens. It is engineers with mortgages, pilots with families, bureaucrats justifying expenditure items, politicians trading influence. Every detail here is human. Secrecy, ambitions, rationalizations. We must do this before them. All of this comes from the same species that builds suburbs, shops at supermarkets, and scrolls through feeds on phones. This is where the true horror lies. The gap between the world we see in the news and the world whose prototypes are created in that desert is not supernatural. It is procedural. Epilogue. Mirror of the future. Therefore, the next time you hear the question whether there are aliens in Area 51, you can answer that it is the wrong question. The right question is this: what technologies, doctrines, and decisions are being made there right now? Decisions that will shape my life, my privacy, my security, the wars of the future long before I am even told they exist. Because in the end, Area 51 is not a box that either does or does not contain extraterrestrial bodies. It is a mirror. If you look into it hoping to see aliens, you will see a story that allows you to feel small and uninvolved. But if you look into it as a rational observer, you will begin to see something else. A world where the most important systems are deliberately designed to stay outside your line of sight.
Not because you are too weak to bear the truth, but because the people extracting the greatest benefit from these systems count on you continuing to stare at the sky while the real work happens
on the ground.